Bust it up.
I'm here. Second.
All right, welcome everybody. We're going to call to order the Narragansett Town Council work session, which is our zoning board interviews for August 15th, 2022. It is 6:34 p.m. So what we're looking to do tonight is to interview for our alternate 2 seat on the zoning board. We had a seat empty and we had shifted everybody up. So now we have that alternate 2 seat available. We don't want to, I don't think there's too much to talk about other than going right to the candidates. We'll bring each of you up. We'll all ask a few questions. You can give us a little bit of background on yourselves as well. And we have plenty of time, so don't feel rushed. Definitely enough time to get this done tonight. So just to reiterate for everyone at home, this is a work session to interview selected candidates for zoning and plating board of review. So why don't we go ahead and start like we always do, alphabetically. And we're going to start with Robert Breyer. And there should be a button on that microphone. As long as the light is red, then it should be working. So, I think so. Is that on?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. So thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So if you don't mind, if you could just start by giving us a little bit of background on yourself, maybe how long you've lived in town and just your general background and experience.
Okay, my great-grandfather moved into Narragansett in 1930, and my father used to come summers with his grandfather, and then I started coming summers in 1959 and moved here as a permanent resident in 2004. I've been here ever since, and my daughter also lives here as a permanent resident since 2004.
Great, thank you. Anything else before we go around?
You want some background history?
Yeah, if you don't mind, maybe you could just kind of do that. That way we won't have to ask.
Graduated high school in '67, joined the Marine Corps. Was in the Marine Corps from 1967 to 1997. I did 30 years. I retired as an E9 Master Gunnery Sergeant. During that time frame, I was offered my commission to become an officer in the Marine Corps. And I finished college under the GI Bill and got my bachelor's degree in business management. And then after I got down here, I built my home on Maple Avenue, 19 Maple Avenue in Narragansett. And I got to meet Mr. Santilli, who was looking for a housing inspector at the time. So I retired from my father's painting business. I finally made him put his paintbrushes away. And I took the job as the housing inspector / community housing officer for the town. And I was with the town until 2020.
Great, thank you. All right, so why don't we go around? Susan, if you want to get us started.
So, hi, Bob.
Hi.
Yeah, so I know that you have housing experience and you're very familiar with, Briggs Farm, Point Judith, Bonnet, all those particular areas in the town. And I know you have extreme experience dealing with the students here in Narragansett and some. How do you think that's going to play if you were to be assigned to the zoning board? I mean, does that have any influence on any of the decisions or anything you think would affect the zoning?
No, I don't think it'll have any effect on zoning other than the fact that I'd be an asset because I know the areas and the different communities and have dealt with people like Joe Lawler's dad, who was the president of Briggs Farm. And then you've got Carol Stewart and Stephen Ferrandi and Eastwood Look. So I've known those people and have dealt with them. And they'll probably tell you I've treated them fairly and listened to everything they had to say and then acted on what I could fix and what I couldn't.
Okay. And then, I started the Affordable Housing Collaborative this term, and it's a group that's working on the affordable housing issues. And what's your feeling about affordable housing in the town of Narragansett as far as the zoning? And
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm here. I believe, I want more permanent residents in Narragansett. That's why I supported my daughter when she decided she was going to move here. I don't think we have enough people, like our policemen and our firemen. Half of them don't live in Narragansett because they can't afford it. And I'd like to see that change.
Good enough. That's it
All
for
right,
right now.
thanks, Susan. Eva?
Hi, Heather.
Hi, how are you? So in your application for a detailed statement of interest, you stated that being a Narragansett resident, I would like our town to be a better place. Could you just expand upon that? What do you feel would make Narragansett a better place and kind of relate it to zoning?
Affordable housing, a better place for people. I think Narragansett's a great place to live and grow up in. I think we have the best elementary schools, high schools. I would love to see more people get an opportunity to live in Narragansett and really find out what it's like behind the scenes, you know, other than dealing with URI and all the problems we deal with them on a daily basis. There's more to Narragansett than that.
Indeed.
Is that it,
Thanks.
Eva?
Yeah, that's
Okay, great. Okay, Deb?
So can you relate your...
Sorry,
That's okay.
still not used to a microphone. Can you relate your, desire to see more affordable housing here to how you would, how you would deal on the zoning board? Would that have any impact on that, or?
To be honest with you, I don't know how I would do it because I haven't been in the position to actually see what they're working on.
Okay,
So I would have to see how they're ready to move on to the next step. And if I found something that, when I ran for town council, I didn't run as a Democrat or a Republican. I ran as an independent because I want to do the best thing for the town of Narragansett. So if I agree with a Democrat or I agree with a Republican, I wanted to be able to do that without crossing party lines. That's what I want to do in the zoning. If they've got a good idea, I'm going to go with the people who have a good idea for the town.
do you ever attend zoning board meetings?
I haven't, to be honest with you, no.
Okay, okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Deb. And Patrick?
I'm well aware of Robert's activities over the last few years. No questions.
How are you, Pat?
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Okay, yeah, just a couple of questions for you. So we have the planning board and we have the zoning board. And I'm sure, based on your experience here as a housing inspector, you're familiar with the roles of those two bodies.
I've actually sat in both those meetings,
Right,
so I
right.
know how it works.
Okay, great. So related to what we've talked about, affordable housing, year-round residents, those are the sort of things that you personally think we should have more of in Narragansett. And I think
Yes.
the council agrees mostly, for the most part there as well. What do you see as what your role would be on the zoning board and what kind of decisions you can make to further that goal? Because as we know, the zoning board doesn't actually make policies. It only enforces the current policies. So do you think there are issues with the way zoning boards can vote that undermine the goal?
I don't know if it would be undermining the goal. I think if a young couple is trying to move into I'll give you an example. I know a family, husband and wife, the wife is an anesthesiologist, the husband's a doctor, and they got 2 kids in the elementary school system. They bought a 50 by 100 lot, which is 5,000 square feet. With the new policy, they can't build a house that they can live in. I mean, their bedrooms for the kids right now is sitting 8 feet by 11 feet. What is that? I mean, they couldn't put a Jack and Jill bathroom between the 2 bedrooms for the kids. And the house is 2,000 square feet for 4 people. That's the new rule. So if I seen a young couple coming to the zoning board, looking for 2,100 square feet or 2,200 square feet, and I had the right to vote on it, to make their lives better, I would vote yes. That's being honest.
So you're saying basically that's the floor area ratio
Right.
that we put in place recently?
Yes, and I hope you're looking at that as a change someday.
Well, it is being discussed. But one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that when a family or individual builds a house, that's not always going to be owned by those people. So if someone builds something on a small lot, it might be for a family now, but that could be an Airbnb down the road. So that's just, I'm not saying that we need to agree necessarily, but those are things that we consider. Because these are complex issues.
They are, but I feel personally how we dealt with those issues in the past were all wrong. We should have dealt with those issues now so we wouldn't be in the position punishing this young couple who lives in Narragansett with a house that's paid for, going to knock it down and want to live here forever, can't do it because they can't get the size of the house they want for their family.
So they could do a
There's something
2,000
wrong with that.
So they could do a 2,000 square foot house on a 5,000 square foot lot.
Correct.
Right.
Before, it used to be 1,250 square feet, and the other 75% had to be permeable.
Right.
So 1,250 and 1,250, that's 2,500. Boom, they're done. The house is perfect. 3-bedroom house. They're not asking for 5 or 6 bedrooms.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. And any last thoughts from you?
No, I just want to do good for the town. Like I said, I worked 4 years before, had a good time doing it. I got more time on my hands now where I feel I can help the town, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right. No, you're good. Thank you.
I'll go. You can stay and I'll go.
All right. So next up, we're going to bring Ellen Corneau. Great. All right. Thank you for coming in as well.
You're welcome.
So if we could just get started, you could just give us a little bit of background and why you're looking to apply.
So in March of 2021, I purchased a house on a small lot in the pier on Rockland Street. I was looking to move from Providence, use Narragansett now as my permanent residence. I'm very excited about moving here and staying here permanently. After I bought the house, I knew it was one of the houses that probably would benefit by a knockdown and a build-up, so that's what I did. I'm almost there. End of September, knock on wood, I'll be there permanently. And I look forward to my new community. I mean, I've always crossed the border into Narragansett, and my blood pressure has always dropped, 10 points at least. I mean, I'm looking forward to being here. I'm a newbie, a hard act to follow, somebody who's been here forever and ever. I'm a newbie, but that brings with it some new thoughts and some new ideas also. So I have practiced law for 33 years. I've practiced in the public finance and municipal area of law. So I represent a lot of cities and towns. Narragansett is one of the communities I do not represent. I represent some communities in South County. I do public finance. Anytime a community needs some new schools, some roads, some sewers, water, et cetera, I help my clients with those projects and with that financing. In addition to public finance, we, as bond counsel, there aren't too many of us in the state. There's a small amount of us where we are also called upon to interpret charters, interpret ordinances, draft legislation at the state level, do charter amendments, things like that. So I have a lot of experience with municipal law and municipal governance. And I am excited about giving back. I'm excited about learning more about my new home, and look forward to being a productive member of the town. And that's why I want to serve. And I would like to help in any way that you might see my talents be helpful to the town. So is that it? That's it. That's probably it.
That was pretty
Great.
good.
I have a dog. My children are grown. I am fully aware of that FAR ordinance because I had to scale back my building, my house because of it. I'm on a 5,300 square foot lot, and I'm fully aware of the FAR ordinance, and I understand the reasons for it. I mean, you don't want a mansion built on a postage stamp. It doesn't help with the stormwater drain, runoff. It doesn't help with a whole bunch of other things, and whether it be the visual, you're blocking people's view, whatever. I mean, I understand the reason for it, and I actually, my plans started before the FAR ordinance was adopted, and then when we went to do a permit to apply for the permit, the fire ordinance had been instituted, and of course, then we just had to scale back a little bit for the square footage. But I do understand, I understand the reasons for that. And there's reasons for these types of zoning ordinances,
Right.
so.
Okay, great. So we'll start with Susan.
So, excellent. I just had a question or two about the affordable housing, as you heard the question to Bob. Just, that's a new committee that's been formed, and just kind of want to know what your thoughts on are about, with affordable housing and what you could offer in the area of zoning, or do you have experience around?
I have some experience with affordable housing. I mean, there's that 10% state mandate or whatever that all towns should strive for a 10% affordable housing. I don't know where Narragansett is in that area, but I can't imagine that you're close. I mean, maybe you are, but big issue, and I quite frankly don't have a lot of thoughts on how to solve it. I mean, what is the average home value in Narragansett now is in the $800,000 range. I mean, that's tough for affordable housing. But, you may zoning, if it's the policy of the town to increase affordable housing, the zoning board would need to, vote accordingly, or at least in accordance with the zoning ordinance. So, I mean, it's definitely a goal. It's definitely a good goal to have. Full-time resident population decreased for the first time this past census, right? I mean, it decreased a little bit. So I'm fully, and I'm one of those people that are coming in as a permanent resident. I'm not going to be a summer resident. I'll be here full-time. And the goals that Bob talked about when he was there are good goals. And I think I would need to get more involved and become more aware and be able to then form some thoughts on how to help that happen. But it's a great goal, and needed, and very needed.
You seem to have a good handle on some of the issues in town. You spoke about the FAR, the bulk zoning. Anything else that Narragansett's been facing that you've been aware of that would
I
be
think
something you might deal with in the zoning board?
Just from my year of owning property here, and I did live here last summer, just before I started construction, and I've been here a lot looking at the progress, and I think you've got some water issues. I think you've got supply and quality issues. I think you have some the housing, not only just the affordable housing, but you've got the conflicting renters and investors versus full-time residents, and I think that's never going to go away in a coastal community, in a beautiful coastal community like Narragansett. Let's see, what else? Shore access issues. That's going to be a big thing. That'll be a big thing coming up. I think we're going to have more and more people who are on either side of that issue. The Point Judith development, or lack thereof, or whatever, I think that's a great opportunity for the town if you can get behind it in some way. I mean, I know that there's a lot of competing issues there as well, but I do think that that's a great opportunity. It's a great location, and I think that's something that really has to be thoughtful. You have to be thoughtful about that. Weather and climate issues. You want to keep going. I keep thinking of things. Weather and climate issues. The runoff, the surge, the ocean surge, and the damage that it causes, and how to protect the wildlife, the beaches, what really makes Narragansett Narragansett. So that's. I don't think your finances seem like they're in good shape. I think the only thing that when I started looking, I looked at the OPEB might be a little underfunded. But.
That's what I've been telling you guys.
Sorry. Oh, I know you are.
We
I
know
know you
that.
are. I know you are. But I think the OPEB might be, but you did do a trust, so that's pretty good. But the market is such that you might have to bring down the investment rate a little bit, just to, you might have to have the actuaries recalculate. Anyway, I'm getting away off zoning. But a lot of those things, these issues, are zoning issues, because water, housing, different, all of the different zoning and the different overlay districts that you have and with the wetlands and all of that stuff, those end up being, they're related to zoning. So anyway, that's that.
Thank you, Ellen.
All right, thank you. We're going to go over to Eva.
Hi.
Hi.
So unlike the other candidate that we interviewed tonight, he had only put that he was interested in serving on zoning. But your application states that you'd be interested in serving on Board of Canvassers, Economic Development Commission, Finance Committee, Planning Board, Tax Assessment Board, Zoning Board of Review, and Minimum Housing Board. But it sounds like you have a skill set that would be great for a lot of those. Is there one in particular that you see yourself leaning more towards than?
If it's not zoning, I do have a passion for land use and zoning, and some of the financing that I do, not just for municipalities, but for banks and sometimes who finance developers, zoning makes sense. But economic development is another big passion of mine. I do a lot of tax increment financing in the state, and thinking Point Judith, thinking some other areas around there. But exciting, some exciting stuff. And if you but I think economic development, not that we want, I haven't been around long enough to know the council's policies on economic development and what you want to see happen in the town or what you think the town is best suited for. But yeah, I would definitely, I want to do something,
Yeah.
so.
That's great, thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Eva. Deb?
Good evening. You've answered a lot of questions already, which is great. I do want to ask if you have ever been to, not necessarily one of our planning board meetings, but a planning board meeting in a municipality.
I have not, but I have been, I'm sorry, other planning.
Zoning?
Zoning, I meant zoning, I'm sorry.
Do you mean other communities?
Any
Or-
communities.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, okay.
ton, plenty.
And I meant zoning, not planning, sorry.
Plenty, just not in Narragansett. And I haven't been to one in Narragansett. I do, I hope to not have to go on my own behalf, but like I said, I am building a place, and there may be a need for, I may have to ask for a handicap ramp for my nephew. But other than that, I don't have any issues before the board, before the zoning or planning board.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Deb. Patrick?
I have no question.
No questions. Okay, great. I do have a few questions.
Okay.
And just comments, I guess, in general. So you were right on about the shore access. That actually has already become a big issue here as,
Yeah, you read a few things about between here and other communities too. It's big.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And actually, if you stick around tonight, we'll have a few items on the agenda related to that specifically,
Got
some
it.
of the bigger ones.
Okay.
You're definitely knowledgeable about a lot of issues in town, especially for someone who's just moving here full-time, so I think that's impressive.
I haven't represented the town, but one of your bond issues, I was counsel to the underwriter. So I learned a lot about from that perspective, so.
Right, and just in the public financing of bond council, at different municipalities, you start to understand how these departments work and these different committees work, right? Right. How do you, sorry, I'm just trying to kind of like phrase this well. When the town council passes ordinances, we do it with a specific intent, and we don't always have a majority vote, but if we get it approved, we do it because we want this ordinance to be followed.
Sure.
So when things go to applicants and applications go to planning and zoning, there is the ability to get a variance. And one of the things that we've heard from residents through the years is that some people think that our boards have granted too many variances. How do you feel in general about a variance? When do you think it's appropriate? You don't have to give me an exact instance, but just generally.
Okay, I think, as I said, town councils, states, whoever passes these types of land use regulations, zoning is a type of land use regulation, it's for a reason. And there's usually a lot of thought that goes into it, either at the planner, the town planner level. There's a reason for it. And I don't think variances should be given lightly. there's standards for giving variances. I think you have to show some sort of hardship. And what a hardship is sometimes subjective, but there are cases that will guide the zoning board as to what a hardship, really is. And, again, I'm a rule follower, I guess, sometimes, I hope, sometimes not. But they're there for a reason. So I think to be able to waver from it, to deviate from it, there needs to be a good reason. And a lot of times there are good reasons. Mm-hmm. A lot of times there are. Being able to get more money for a lot is probably not one of those good reasons. I mean, you got to worry about some of the zoning ordinances, especially in the overlay districts, are designed to prevent bigger problems down the road. Whether it be stormwater or excess use on the road, whatever. There's lots of different things. So.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
So that's. I hope that helps. I hope that helps.
It does. It
Yeah.
definitely helps. And my last question, what would you say is the responsibility of a member of the zoning board?
So the ordinances are adopted by council. So the zoning board is here to enforce the ordinances, I guess I would say. Read them, understand them, explore all of the different requests that might come in to the zoning and planning board, to be knowledgeable about that, to be knowledgeable about the reasons for the zoning ordinances, and to follow the policy dictated by the town government as to why we have the zoning ordinances.
Right. Okay, great.
So-
Great, thank you. Are there any last things you'd like to say?
I don't think so. I think I'm good. It was a nice meeting all of you.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Ellen.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to have an item on our next town council agenda. So in September, we'll have an item to nominate a candidate for the seat. That won't be happening tonight, so for anyone who's watching this, you can look for that in our first September meeting. So that pretty much does it for tonight. All right, we'll see everyone